Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Meadsy69 and welcome back to channel. Today we're going to be looking at update 6.6, mainly two tanks, and that is two tier 10 tanks, the T62A and the Leopard 1. Now these two tanks in particular have received a buff. Yes, they've received the buff, and to be honest, I have zero ideas as to why they have received the buff, but they've received the buff. Nothing, I mean, not majorly. I mean, you can call the T62 buff major, but playing it on open test, I don't really feel too much different. But when it hits the main servers, that might change, but it's just the open test. It's very hard to get a decent game. I mean, this battle here, it's 5 against 5. I've been 1 against 1, 2 against 1. So it's hard to get a proper game. And because everyone is playing mainly medium tanks, the game is over very, very quickly. So the T62A has, I think, 5 degrees of gun depression currently. In update 6.6, that is going to go to 8 degrees of gun depression. It sounds a lot, it is a lot, but at the moment I just can't feel too much of a difference. I'm not saying there's no difference. Please don't slate me for saying that it's that I'm saying it's not so much difference, but I can't really feel it. I mean, there's some positions you can feel it, and there's other positions you get up and you think that there's enough gun depression, but there isn't. But I think once it hits the main servers, I think people will start seeing it. Once you get into certain positions on certain maps, I mean, like here, we poke up that hill, we still couldn't get that gun down enough, but we back up a little bit and we can get that gun down enough to get the shot on the Progetto. So I'm sure we will be able to feel it. I mean, there is certain maps, which I will show you soon, that you're definitely going to feel it. Maps probably like Dead Rail if you poke up the middle, and maps probably like Mines, which I have had a battle on, which I'll show you very soon. This battle here, matchmaking put us against 1 against 1. There's no point talking to me because I'm not Russian. We are on the Russian test server, so most people are Russian and they do talk to you in Russian, but I have no idea, so I just choose to ignore it. And we're a 1 versus 1. So there is certain positions in certain maps, especially maps like this. I mean, not so much, not a lot this map, but this map's got a lot of hills, but most of the hills are very hilly. They're not just like hilly, they're quite hilly. There's a big hill. I mean, certain positions like here, we can poke up that hill and we can poke up far enough to get that gun down, to get that shot on the T62. So why did it get a buff? To be honest, I have no idea. I absolutely have no idea. The T62 is already OP. Well, I wouldn't say OP, it's already fantastic, especially over the Object 140. Now, the only reason you would ever play at the moment the 140 over the T62A is because it has 6 degrees of gun depression and not 5. That is the only reason people would play the 140, and that is the only reason people would say the 140 is better than the T62, because it has more gun depression. Now, the T62 has a better turret than the 140, so now that this is getting 8 degrees of gun depression, again, as I've said, you can get into certain positions on certain maps and you can use that turret because it has got a very, very strong turret. I mean, hills like this, we do go over for this standard B. It is 2 against 3, so we're just going to take this guy out. But you're going to see certain positions you can get your gun down enough to get the shots off where usually you probably wouldn't be able to get. Now, we're now up against the FV4 202. We're going to go up against him and we're going to go over the hill, or he's going to drop down, and we're still going to be able to get our gun down just enough to get that shot off. Now, maybe you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to actually go down as I am now to get that shot off. So you can feel it a little bit, but I just haven't played it enough. I'm not getting the right maps to see if it actually really does make a difference. So this battle here, it was 2 against 3, but me and this other guy, this Russian guy, still managed to kill all 3 and both stay alive. Now, the final battle, we are going to watch it on Mines, and this is where I say, with the turret that you've got, it's this map in particular that is really going to make a difference, because you are going to be able to poke up the hill and you are going to be able to get your gun down enough to get shots off on the enemy coming the other side. As you're going to see here, we can get our gun down. We do miss, but we didn't want to poke out too long. And as you can see here, we can still get our gun down against that enemy T62A. But obviously, he's in a T62 as well, so he can get his gun down on me as well. So you can see here, we can get the gun down enough to get the tracks. And maybe at the moment, you'll only be able to get your gun down to hit that turret. And as you can see, the turret is really, really red and it's really, really strong. So it's this map in particular that is going to really, really make the difference. I can't wait to see it on live server. And again, I just don't know what Wargaming were thinking about buffing this. Why don't you just give the Object 148 degrees of gun depression instead of this? Because this tank has the turret, and not only the turret, it has the accuracy. This tank is one of the best accuracy tanks in the entire game. It got buffed quite a while ago, and Wargaming made the accuracy absolutely fantastic. Compared to the 140, they just haven't touched the 140. Instead, they are just buffing the T62 again and again and again. So that is the T62. Nice buff, 8 degrees of gun depression. Next up, we are going to look at the Leopard 1. Yes, the Leopard 1 is receiving a buff. Not a major buff, but it's a buff. And again, I have no idea why it's getting buffed. And I really want to know from Wargaming how they get these kind of stats, these kind of data to decide to buff a tank. And I know they look at the stats and the data and maybe it's not performing well. But what I want to really know is, I mean, how do they decide how to buff it? And I mean, what impact do they think it's going to have? I mean, the Leopard 1 currently has 5.9 seconds. The reload on the Leopard 1 is 5.9 seconds. And that is what's getting buffed, is the reload. But the reload, it's not getting majorly buffed. The reload is actually going to 5.8. So I don't understand, or 5.7 should I say. It's just over 0.1 of a second buff. And I mean, how do Wargaming get that number? Why do they think, you know what, the Leopard 1 needs a buff, let's buff it 0.1 seconds? Like, is that going to make too much of a difference? I really don't know. But I know what difference it will make, and that is the DPM. Now, it doesn't sound a lot, but currently I mean a lot of difference. Currently the DPM on this is 3,500, or just over. It's just shy of... it's just less than the T62 and the Object 140, as we know, or as we should know, are the two most DPM tanks in the, well, medium in the game, or in tier 10 at least. So the buff for the Leopard 1 is actually going to push the DPM up to 3,600, well, just over 3,600. It's about 3,660, something like that. That 0.1 of a second, or that 0.1.5 of a second, now actually makes the Leopard 1 the highest DPM medium in tier 10. So it doesn't sound a lot, 0.1.5 seconds really, but it does push that DPM up to the highest in the entire game, or at least tier 10. So I love the Leopard 1, and as you all know, the Leopard 1 is my favourite tank. So even if it's a minor buff, even if the reload is a minor buff, at least it's a buff. I love the Leopard. Give it all the buffs that you want. I really don't. Give it 4 seconds reload. Give it IS4 armor. I really, it would be welcome, because I play the Leopard 1 a lot. It is my favourite tank, and I really do enjoy the tank with the penetration, the accuracy, as I missed that shot there somehow on the grill. The speed, it really is an all-round good tank if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're not so skilled, then the Leopard 1 is actually very difficult, and it takes probably the most skilled to play the tank in tier 10. You can't just roll up and look at the replays that I post, or look at the battles that I make and post, roll up, buy a Leopard 1 and assume that you're going to do as well. I love the Leopard 1, and it suits my playstyle with the no army. I do mess up here big time. Now on the test server, it automatically, well, not just the test server, but when you buy a tank, or at least on the test server, it automatically gives you ammo, and it has like 17 each, and stupidly I forgot to change it, and I'd run out of AP, and I do end up getting killed. But we do end up on 5,500 damage. It was the only game that I ended up on a 7 versus 7, but 5.5k damage. So that is the 2 buffs for now. I'm not actually sure what else is coming in 6.6. We haven't been told, but if there is any other things, then of course I will make another video and let you know. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm Meadsy, and I'll see you soon.